Namaskar, dear devotees and friends. Today, Wednesday evening, and we will be discussing the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, Panchama Veda. Let us begin. Tavo kathamritam tapta jivanam kabhi bhiriritam kalmashapaham sravana mangalam Sri Madatatam bhubi grinanti e bhurida janaha. This bhurida janaha, the great donors, that one who is expounding on that, he is getting that merit. Can you imagine? So why they are telling like this in the Gopi Gita, that it says that if you are talking about the God, listening about God, hearing about God, discussing about God, reading about God, and that will give you the merit, spiritual merit of the donation that the huge donation that one has made for the betterment of the poor people, like that. So this is the uniqueness of the spirituality. And what is that spirituality? Two knowledges. Why two? Because the path we are talking about. And the last, in the Wednesday, Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna very clearly mentioned the knowledge and the reality. That one should have the knowledge of reality and Brahman. Knowledge of reality and Brahman. So he talked about that. That knowledge, that reality, that truth can be approached through two paths. That is exactly what Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna will be discussing. What is that knowledge of reality? The truth, it is only one. There are no two. And when we see so many millions of things, they are asking us, the God Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna and the Upanishad, the Rishis, they are all asking us to try to understand the oneness, try to see the oneness in many. Yo mam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mai pashyati. Bhagavan Sri Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, the one who can see me in everything, that means one, and everything in one. So that is the reality, and that knowledge is Brahman, that consciousness. Now this he said in the last time we mentioned, the last Wednesday. Today we shall hear him continuing the same idea, but through the path of bhakti, the devotion. That there are two margs, the path of knowledge, jnana marga, or the jnana yoga. Marga means the path, yoga means the union, the system of union, the policy of union. So that is jnana, and path of devotion, bhakti marga, or the bhakti yoga. Now here Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna, he mentioned, and we already discussed, that he was telling that when I go into trance, I lose my consciousness. The moment he mentioned the consciousness, he understood there is a chance of misunderstanding the word consciousness. Why? They will think, oh, then that means he is not in his senses, he is unconscious. Not that consciousness. This is mentioning here. Consciousness means consciousness of the outer world. One needs the knowledge of the reality and the Brahman. That is it. Then he is telling bhakti, love of God, is the only essential thing. One kind of bhakti has a motive behind it. Again, there is a motiveless love, pure devotion, a love of God that seeks no return. The moment there is a bhakti, the devotion is there, all one can understand. Whenever we go to God, whenever we go to temple, we always talk about the God, please give me this, please protect me, please help me in this way, that way. There's so many list is there always. That is also devotion. At the back of the devotion, there is a faith that God does exist, God is there. And when we are thinking in that way, that is also a bhakti. But Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna said there is another kind of bhakti. That only loving God and without any expectation, only return from God even. So that he is mentioning one kind of bhakti has a motive behind it. And again, there is a motiveless love. There is nothing, no desire. Just I love. That's called pure devotion. The bhakti, the pure devotion, is not having even any prayer. So that is the highest condition, a love of God that seeks no return. Keshav Sen and the members of the Brahma Samaj didn't know about the motiveless love. He is just mentioning, he used to go, and that is the beauty of the Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna. Many of you know the Keshav, they were the founder of the Brahma Samaj, and that is a completely different society that they were developing at that time. Of course, a branch of the Hindu, but they developed at that time that we should not worship any images of God and goddesses. Their prayer, they mixed with like the Christian prayers, like this, so many other things. So they a process they were developing. But they had no idea that there is a love for God without any craving, any prayer that he mentioned. Sri Ramakrishna used to go to them and he used to talk to them, he used to rectify, he used to help them to develop the spiritual understanding. This is the beauty of the Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna. And Keshav and the members of the Brahma Samaj didn't know about the motiveless love. In this love, there is no desire. It is nothing but pure love of the lotus feet of God. There is another kind of love. So, love with desire, love without desire, and another kind of love for God is known as Urjita Bhakti. Urjita Bhakti, an ascetic, ecstatic love of God that overflows, ecstatic love of God that overflows as it were. When it is awakened, the devotee laughs and weeps and dances and sings. Chaitanya Deva is an example of this love. Ram said to Lakshman, brother, if anywhere you see the manifestation of Urjita Bhakti, ecstatic love, know for certain that I am there. So that means the God himself is present in that devotion or into that person who has. So here we learn that first is the love for God. Understanding that God is nothing but the consciousness. And this consciousness is the only reality and there is no other reality. Nothing, though we see varieties, but only the same thing manifesting in different varieties. So this is the Hindu way of looking at the world, the manifestation, the creation. So when we are thinking in that way, then we can discriminate whatever we are looking at. Is it true? Is it real? Etc. Another is thinking that God is there and the God has become many. And for that, first thing I have to develop a faith in the existence of God. And as because God has great power, so I go to God with a prayer. I love God, I believe God, I go to God for that reason, but I feel that I have to pray to God, otherwise who is going to help me? That is also love for God, but with prayer, with desire. Next he said, they don't have any desire. The very higher type of love. They only love because that is their joy. When the mother is loving the child, the baby, not expecting anything from the baby. Oh, then sometimes we may think that when he grows up, then he will help me like that. But otherwise, the baby is there. Even sometimes when the children are coming, we don't know them, not expecting anything from them, but still we love them. That type of love. We are loving God. The God is there. I am loving God, but I am not expecting anything. Just I like to love. That's a very high ranking. And third he is telling, Urjita Bhakti, that is as if that the love means so much of love that they cannot contain within them. That much of love. Sometimes some people, when I have seen the players, when they are successful, maybe the soccer player, and they net the ball, and immediately the gesture and posture and the jumping and looking at the sky and as if praying to the God or thanking God, like that they will do. Why? So much of joy they like to express through physically like that. Now here also Urjita Bhakti, that is ecstatic love. That he himself becomes, or she herself become that God. And then that joy, and he cannot contain that joy. And what he does, says Ramakrishna is telling, loves, going on laughing. There's so much of joy, cannot control that joy. So that comes out as laugh, or weeping, or dancing, or singing. So that is how it happens. He says Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was having that, and quoting the Ramachandra, he said to Lakshmana, when you find this type of person, know that it is me. The Girish, now Girish is there, Girish Ghosh, he is telling everything is possible through your grace. Girish never mentioned God's grace, he said your grace. Because Girish used to consider Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna as God. See, this is really very difficult. When a person in the physical body is there, he is talking, he is moving, so many. Sometimes you may like to talk to him, sometimes the words or the way he talked or addressed you, you may not like. It happens like that. How can you consider him as a God and consider that everything that he does is perfect? Because he is God. So it needs a great realization and the faith. When the Krishna was there, only a handful, few people, like the Bhishma, the great Bhishma, considered Krishna as a God himself. He knew that he is God. Though Krishna was against his party, the Bhishma was supporting one party and Krishna another, Pandavas. So naturally they were in two different the group, but still Bhishma knew that he is God. And Bhishma waited that Krishna should come, my God should come when I leave my body. So he was waiting. We know that those stories. When the Krishna came over there, and Krishna then understood the God himself, so he understood that he is waiting for me to go. And how to go, then he made so asked Yudhishthira, see, the grandfather is over there, he had great knowledge about administration and how to rule the country, you must go and learn it from him, the time is less, let's go. So all they went over there, they asked a question, but the pretext was to go only by that way, but to bless the Bhishma. Bhishma also knew that. He answered, but he was looking at the Krishna constantly. So this is the one way that some people only we consider Girish Chandra Ghosh of that height. Sri Ramakrishna himself said his faith. But Sri Ramakrishna, he is very humble. He don't like to disclose that. That is, the divinity means very humbleness. They will never boast. Oh, I am so and did this, that. The moment the people are boasting, advertising about themselves, no, there's something wrong. They have not realized that the God is completely different. No advertisement is necessary. And the truth is, this is mine only. The God means what? He is the creator. And what is the creation? It is His creation only. In a stotra about Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna is so wonderfully mentioned, Parabrahma is that supreme Brahman. Parashakti, para means the highest. He is that power through which, what He has created, Jagat Rupa Ramakrishna. Parabrahma Parashakti Jagat Rupa Ramakrishna. And this Jagat, this universe, with millions of varieties, that is also the Sri Ramakrishna. So naturally, why he should behave like that? So those who realize God, they never boast or say anything, rather they hide. And Sri Ramakrishna is showing so humbleness. Girish understood it, and Girish is insisting, and Girish is stating, yes, everything is possible through your grace. And what was I before? And see what I am now. Girish is giving the example of his own, what Girish was and what Girish has become. The master, Sri Ramakrishna, he is behaving in a different way, in a humble way. You had latent tendencies so that you are manifesting themselves now. Latent tendencies means you were having the good tendencies, and naturally you are manifesting those tendencies now. Nothing happens except at the proper time. Take the case of a patient. The nature has almost cured him when the physician prescribes a herb and asks him to drink its juice. After taking the medicine, he is completely cured. Now, is the patient cured by the medicine, or does he get well by himself? Who can tell? The Sri Ramakrishna trying to tell, no, don't give me all those credits. I am not God. I am not helping you to improve. Girish was completely different type of person. But now same Girish has changed a lot. He has become a very spiritual, highly spiritual person. Now he is telling that it is because of Sri Ramakrishna's grace, and Sri Ramakrishna is God himself. Otherwise it is impossible to change my nature, my attitude and my character. But Sri Ramakrishna says nothing like that. You had hidden good tendencies, now it is manifesting, and I am just present, so you are thinking I am doing. So Sri Ramakrishna humble. Then he is going on giving the talk like this. Lakshmana said to Lava and Kusha. These are the stories in different, there are so many varieties of Mahabharata. The different type of stories, the naturally incorporated over there. Sri Ramakrishna is mentioning one of the story. Lakshmana told to Lava and Kusha. Lava Kusha was the sons of Sri Ramachandra. So you are mere children. You don't know Rama's power. At the touch of his feet, Ahalya, who had been turned into a stone, got back her human form. This is the Ahalya story. But Lavakusha, they are telling, revered sir, we know that. We have heard the story. The stone became Ahalya because of the power of the holy man's work. So what are the words of the holy man? The sage Gautama said to her, in the Treta Yuga, Rama will pass this hermitage You will become a human being again at the touch of his feet. Now, who can tell whether the miracle happened in order that the sage words should be fulfilled or on account of Rama's holiness? Sri Ramakrishna is trying to give that way, explain that way, that I don't give the credit to me, it is because of the holiness that is already within you. We have to learn from this. There's so much humbleness. If a person is not giving any credit to me, I become so angry. We become so angry. We like to always take the credit. A little thing that we have done for something, we don't like people to forget that. See, I have done this, I have done that, this, they have not recognized it, they is not mentioning. So this is the difference. That's why this gospel of Sri Ramakrishna is the Veda. It teaches us the high spiritual knowledge. And what is that? Completely ego-free, no ego. When Girish is ready to tell that you are God, Sri Ramakrishna is avoiding and telling different stories to convince the listeners over there that time, I don't know anything, I am a humble, ordinary person. So this is the beauty. Everything happens by the will of God. If your spiritual consciousness has been awakened at this place, know that I am only an instrument. And all happens by the will of God. Now Girish is Girish. So he knew how to convince, how to argue. So Girish is smiling and telling, did you say by the will of God? What I am saying is the very same thing. Because of you, because of your blessings, I changed myself. It is possible. And he was saying because of the God's grace. Same thing. You are God, your grace. So then all people are laughing. So did you say by the will of God? What I am saying is the very same thing. All are laughing. Sri Ramakrishna, master to Girish. By being guileless, one can speedily realize God. The simple. The guileless means simple. The mind should be completely simple. Somebody says something, immediately we accept that or we take that seriously, and there was a long-standing relation, friendship, just because some word someone said, whom I used to consider as a friend, and I started thinking, oh, why you should say like that? Just because of one word, no, I should not talk to them, I should not go over there, I am not going to help in any way. You withdraw and you separate yourself. This is not guilelessness. The guileless means understanding that person. Maybe at that time he said something because he was thinking some other way, or some other thoughts were in his mind. So he just mentioned, look at this, last so many years, he is a so good friend of mine and everything was so nice. Just because of one word, I should not misunderstand. So this is the way they always consider. That's called guileless. Not that they don't understand. It's like child, but the child don't understand. Sometimes they compare with the child. The child sometimes will say, I don't like to eat. They're angry with the mother, angry with the auntie. But after some time, that child doesn't understand. But this grown-up person who is guileless, he understands everything. And because of his clear understanding, he immediately analyzes why this person is behaving like this. There must be something in his mind which I don't know right this moment, so he behaved. He is angry because he thinks that he can become angry on me because I have so close relation with him. and he loves me. That's why as he is thinking that I am his close, I can say this to him. That is the way, if you consider, then you become really guileless. So that guilelessness, understanding the completely pure by an analytical way and then behaving very normally, not keeping that in the mind. So this is a very, very important word. And what Sri Ramakrishna is mentioning? By being guileless, one can speedily realize God. There are several kinds of people who do not attain divine knowledge. First, a man with a perverse mind. This is very clear. He cannot take anything very straight way, the perverse mind. He thinks completely different. The moment he sees something, immediately some wrong thing will come in his mind. The perverse mind is a perverted. The moment he sees something, immediately start thinking from the bad, from the other relations, and that is called perverted mind. Cannot see anything positively. The moment he see, oh, look at this like this is like that. So this is the way always they think. So that is called perverted mind. That this type of people won't be able to realize God. That is what Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna says. Why? Again, the guilelessness. When they are look at these people, why they are behaving like this? Because there may be some reason. That's why they are behaving like this. They are dressing like this. They are staying like this. There must be some reason. But it doesn't matter. The externally, whatever it may be, but is he attached to those things? Is she attached to those things? That is the main. Is he angry with some people, jealous of anything? That is the main thing to be considered. What should be the yardstick to judge a good person? That is full of love and unselfishness, though may be living in a different condition. So, but the perverted type of person, they always see the negative thing in others, and always the mind takes them from the negative approach. That's why it says there are several kinds of people who do not attain divine knowledge. Who? First is with a perverse mind. He is not guileless. Second, one who is very fastidious about outer purity. And that is also some people will be constantly washing the hand, washing the feet, changing the clothes, sprinkling Ganga water, doing this, doing that constantly. Externally, they are so much, is almost like a mental disease. Mental weakness. It's not necessary. The purity is completely different. Purity doesn't mean the Ganga water or the Jordan water. Purity means love. And this body, can you make it pure? All the time full with filth. How can you purify the body? But when you think that God is sitting within our heart, I am pure. The body and the mind becomes purified by thinking about the God and the God residing within me. Shariram rathame batu. That's why in the Upanishad they are teaching, consider your body as the chariot of God, chariot of the Jagannatha. And who is sitting within? The God himself. He is the owner. The moment we think, we meditate in that way, this very body becomes purified. Who are the monks? Because why the monks should be honored, should be respected? Because they are thinking of God constantly. They are feeling the God within their heart constantly. They don't consider this body as their own, they consider it as the chariot of God, and the God is residing within that. Constantly the mind is on spiritual level. That is the reason. But the people, the second type of people, they consider this body that it is impure. So this is impure, this is, of course we should be careful. When we are going inside the shrine, we should not use the dress of that we have used outside, or the shoe and these, that, because of the warm country. So naturally they used to leave the shoe and the socks and the washing the feet, washing the hand, they will go. But in a country like where all the time snow and cold, they cannot do like that. But still they won't go to that altar. A little from distance they will do it. So in that way, but that much is all right. But if they go on, now we have to behave like this. Sometimes I noticed, even in America, which is so cold, some people in the bare body, because in the South India, the southern part of India, it's a very warm place. So obviously they don't keep the shirts or anything on the body. The male people, they are going in the temple. Does it mean that that is religion? Here in Chicago, so cold, all sides snow, but one person, he is without any the upper cloth, is going and creating unnecessary problem. The people are not habituated to see this way. This is not necessary. That is not religion. We have to understand that. When we are inside, now we are putting on proper dresses because the people are coming, different type of people, that we should not. And when I am alone, either inside my room or in India, in the forest, in the cave, of course, if you like, you can be in whatever way you like. So this we have to understand. Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna is very clear about it. This has nothing to do with religion unnecessarily. That's why he is mentioning about the outer purity. Purity should be inside, purity of thought, purity of deed. Now what is the purity? Thought of God, that is purity. When we are thinking something else, that cannot be pure. Pure is only God. So when you are constantly thinking of God, of course you will get it. And third, a doubting person, constantly the questioning, doubting, is it this, is it that? In the beginning it is okay. In the beginning you are asking question, clarifying, and then proceeding, that's good. But if you are ultimately constantly going on doubting, that means something wrong. And by that way, one disbalances his mind. Realization of God is completely different. The mind should be perfectly alert. Alertness comes from the knowledge, and the knowledge of the reality. And reality is that Brahman. And Brahman is one all-pervading consciousness. At least that way we can understand that Brahman. It is a subjective knowledge. It is very difficult to describe or make the definition, but we can say this is Brahman. So this is the way we have to understand. If that is so, then what happened? I got entangled with something which is known as ego, the I sense. It has also come from God, but this moment, like a very strong adhesive, it is with me on my mind. I cannot go beyond that. So I am trying to get free from that. So when I am trying to get free, so that is the process. What are the two processes? One is path of knowledge, another path of bhakti. Now Sri Ramakrishna talked about the path of knowledge, and speaking about bhakti, again we will find how wonderfully he is blending. And coming to that, he is telling that master to Girish. Sri Ramakrishna spoke highly of Nitya Gopal ecstasy. Nitya Gopal is a devotee, and when he went into trance in meditation, forgetting the outer consciousness, sometimes some people They show as if they have, but Sri Ramakrishna could understand who truly has passed that barrier and reached into that eternity. He appreciated Nitya Gopal. 3 or 4 devotees stood near Sri Ramakrishna on the veranda and listened to his words about the exalted state of the Paramahamsa. The Master said, a Paramahamsa is always conscious that God alone is real and all else illusory. Today morning, I received a phone call from a devotee, and he was asking, and I liked that question. He asked whether the incarnation of God sleep. Do they need sleep? Because the sleep means the body consciousness. I have a body, body is tired, body needs the sleep. So, do they sleep like us? That is the wonderful question. Comparing, when you see about the Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna, at the time of his sadhana, the 12 long years of his austerity, spiritual austerity, most of the time he is awake. And then afterwards, as has been recorded by the direct disciples, most of the time he will be lying and sleep a little, but for a very short period of time, and get up and talk and then ask for some other things like that. Why? In the sleep, we go to 2 different stages. One is dream stage and dreamless stage. In the dream stage, of course, we see so many other things which the Paramahamsas and the people of that stature, they don't. They don't see any dream, because they know the truth, as Sri Ramakrishna mentioned. As Paramahamsa is always conscious that God alone is real. So naturally, all the dream stages. So now the Sushupti, dreamless condition. But they go to next step, above Sushupti. So when they go to Turiya stage, it doesn't need the sleep. When you go to Sushupti, ordinary people like us, in the first the conscious, then the dream, then the dreamless sleep, that is Sushupti. We are so fresh, we are so happy that I slept so well. All tiredness of the body and mind goes away. But the Paramahamsas or the people of realization, they always go to the next step, higher, that is Turiya. And there, body and mind completely absent, the freshness of the consciousness. Then when they come back, they don't feel that tiredness. The Birojananda Ji Maharaj also is the direct disciple of Swami Vivekananda. He also mentioned, if you have this, a little sleep will be sufficient for you. Because when you are meditating, your mind is getting so much rest over there. Because your body consciousness is not there. Mind is not also mingling and getting tired with the dream. You are going above that. So when you come back, mind is fresh. The sleep, it doesn't need so much. It's a little, because of the physical body, as it needs food, as it needs water, the same way the rest also, sleep is also necessary. A Paramahamsa is always conscious that God alone is real and all else illusory. Then what is the highest stage of spirituality? Keeping mind alert on this thought. The Brahma Shatya Jagad Mithya, as Shankaracharya mentioned, Brahma Shatya Jagat Mithya. God alone is real and all else are illusory. So when that consciousness is there, I am trying to do whatever the responsibility has come before me. It is okay, I will do that as best way as possible. And then afterwards, I am not entangled by that. I am not expecting, oh, people should remember me, people should clap, people should admire. It's not necessary for individual. For the organization, of course, it is necessary. Swami Vivekananda mentioned. For the organization, because the people, when people are donating, they expect that their money has been spent for the proper purposes. Otherwise, they doubt what they are doing. So you must have to keep the accounts and then advertise and let people know that these are the work that we are doing, this is the way we are spending the money, so they are satisfied. For the organization, it is necessary. But for an individual sadhaka, an aspirant, it is not. So that's why Sri Ramakrishna is telling like this. What the Paramahamsa does, separate the real from the mixture of the real and the unreal. What is this Jagat? What is this world? And in Sanskrit it says, Satya and Anitve Mritunikitve. Satya, this truth, the real, the unchanging, and the Anitya, which is constantly changing, right from the sun down to the grass, everything is changing. The Satya and Anitya, with that is mixed up, Mritunikitve. And one, he understands that and always separate it. And that is the Paramahamsa. Paramahamsa, that great swan. And if many of you have seen that the symbol of the Ramakrishna mission, and the swan is floating in the center. Then the whole thing is rounded by a snake. That is the symbol of yoga. Then there is the wavy water, a symbol of karma. Then is the lotus, the symbol of devotion. Then the rising sun, the symbol of knowledge. So when all the four yogas combine together, you realize the swan, the Paramahamsa stage. And who is this Paramahamsa? As Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna, in 2 lines, he very clearly mentioned, he never forgets that he is the consciousness, he is the God himself. And he can very easily judge the real and the unreal. That's why he is mentioning, through it one becomes aware of God and sees him. It was Wednesday, February 25th, 1885. Sri Ramakrishna was at the house of Girish Ghosh in Boshpara Lane, Calcutta. It was about 3 o'clock when M arrived and prostrated himself before him. The master was going to see a play at the Star Theatre. He was talking with the devotees about the knowledge of Brahman. This is February 25th, 1885. The Sri Ramakrishna is going to observe a theatre. The Girish Ghosh, he was the organizer. The Sri Ramakrishna is going. Now it is the more than 100 years before, the situation, the people thought the spiritual person means he should constantly be in the temple, either chanting or doing the puja or in that way. But Sri Ramakrishna is going to observe the theatre, see the theatre and going with the devotees. So that is something really revolutionary. And he is not secretly he is doing, openly he is going. Why? Because in everything, in every place, the manifestation of God, that he could see, and he is asking us to see wherever you go. Constantly you should be aware about the divinity, and whatever you see, you must learn and see the reflection of divinity in that and learn from that. Like the Abhaduta of the Bhagavata. In everything, the Sri Ramakrishna, Master Masha is mentioning, it's a master, man experiences 3 states of consciousness. He is about the knowledge he is talking. Waking, dream and deep sleep. The students of Vedanta, they all know, and constantly, particularly in America and Europe, we talk about the Vedanta, and constantly we are mentioning about these three stages. Avastha Traya Vichara. This is in Sanskrit they mention Avastha Traya. Traya means three, Vichara, discrimination or analysis, and Avastha condition. The three different conditions which should be analyzed and understand. What are those things? Sri Ramakrishna Bhagavan himself is mentioning over there. He is mentioning that is a waking stage, Jagrat, dream stage, Swapna, and the deep sleep, Sushupti. Those who follow the path of knowledge explain away the three stages. There is Avastha Traya, Shakshi Vichara. According to them, Brahman is beyond the three states. It is also beyond the gross, subtle and causal body. Sthula Sharira, Shukshma Sharira and Karana Sharira in Sanskrit. The gross, subtle and the causal body. And beyond the three gunas, Sattva, Raja and Tama. All these are Maya, like a reflection in a mirror. See, the Sri Ramakrishna is telling the Vedanta in just few lines. People are mad to know about Vedanta. They are thoroughly confused and they are reading so many books. But if you read the Gospel, you get the full idea of Vedanta. What is this Vedanta? Only these few lines. How they practice, what are the way the followers, following the path of knowledge, how they realize that truth. Only this simple way. The three stages and then going beyond the three conditions, the gross body, subtle body, causal body, three gunas, sattva, raja, tama, and then what happens? That this is all Maya. The Maya is like the reflection in the mirror. The reflection is by no means the real substance. Now, something is being reflected. But what is being reflected? That is reality. That is Brahman. Maya, if we give an example that the Maya is like a mirror and the reality is reflecting into that reality, that is the Brahman. Brahman alone is the substance and all else is illusory. This is the pure Vedanta, and in 4 lines Sri Ramakrishna clarified this. Next para, Master Masha is noting, immediately Sri Ramakrishna is mentioning, the knowers of Brahman say further that it is the identification of the soul with the body that creates the notion of duality. Identification of the soul with the body. Soul is the consciousness and body is the inert. How the consciousness and inert can come together. But when you consider that as true, then the duality comes. Otherwise, there is no duality. Identification, the reflection appears real. Then Sri Ramakrishna is mentioning that in that state of identification, the reflection appears real. He said the Maya, and giving the example, the Maya is like a mirror, and in the mirror there is something reflecting. The substance which is reflecting is real, the substance is real, but the problem is here we consider the consciousness and the jada, that the inert, as one. That means the mirror and the substance reflecting in the mirror becoming one by mistake. If we think that inside the mirror whatever we see, that is true, but we don't turn to see what is being reflected over there. And if we take that reflection, that image as true, then naturally from there it becomes the reflection appears the real, and it is the problem. When this identification disappears, a man realizes, I am he, I am Brahman. The complete Advaita Vedanta. In Chicago City, there is a Millennium Park, and they have made a beautiful thing, and which is so clear. The whole city is reflected over there. And all the tourists, they go, the bean they call, and they go, they see their own reflection, and at the same time the reflection of all the buildings at his back, they are very far, but still it is reflected over there, then the road, then the car, then other people. And when you are taking a snap, you are taking the photo of the reflection, but as if you are standing and taking a photo of the city, along with the city. But it is not the real city. Real city is at the back. It is only getting the reflected, and that thing is so clear. It is not mirror, but much better than the mirror. You can see the whole, and there is a whole thing. It's a huge. So naturally, most of the people, they will go take the picture, and they wonder, and we can learn Vedanta from that. When we take the picture and then we see the picture, we think, oh, I am in the city. But in reality, what? It was reflection only. And if we start thinking that reflection inside over there, with the building, with the road, with the vehicles, with the whole city, I am there inside that, that is the problem. What has happened here? Bisham Darpana Drishyamana Nagari, in the Shankaracharya is mentioning about that great stotra. In the Darpana and the mirror, the whole city is reflected. I am thinking this is real. Here also, Sri Ramakrishna mentioning the same thing. And if you go and stand before the beam, it is so big, so vast. And if you have your study of the Vedanta, immediately you will understand, oh, this is the thing. I see my reflection, but I feel as if I am with everything. But in reality, the substance is at the back, not in the front. I see my picture, but it is not in the front, it is at the back, the reality. If we can understand this way, then this is Brahman. Of course, you have to come to Chicago to get this experience of the great bean of Chicago in the Millennium Park and this. So, this is the beauty. And when we go, majority of the people, they are all very happy seeing that. But if you go with the background of the Vedanta and look at that, and you will understand, oh, this is real, and that reflection with all the city and moving city, the cars are moving, people are walking, and all those things are unreal. So that is the way Sri Ramakrishna is mentioning. Now a devotee asking a very pertinent question, which most of our devotees they ask, that is, then shall we all follow the path of reasoning? And now many people they come and talk about, Swamiji, I heard this talk, this is wonderful, we like to follow the path of reasoning. That is not the only path. If you like, of course, you can. Now here Sri Ramakrishna giving the answer. So many years before, a devotee asked this question, which the present day we are listening from some of the devotees asking the same question and asking for the clarification of the doubt. What is the doubt? Is this the only way we can realize God? By reasoning? Sri Ramakrishna now answering. Reasoning is one of the paths. It is the path of the Vedantist. But there is another path, the path of bhakti. If a bhakta weeps longingly for the knowledge of Brahman, he receives that as well. That is exactly usually the idea of a bhakta vision of the personal God. But if a bhakta is praying for impersonal experience, the God will give. That is, Sri Ramakrishna, the God himself, is giving this answer. If you are following the path of bhakti, the path of devotion, which is very natural for the human mind, you can also, and suppose you say, God, I like to realize you as an impersonal being, as consciousness. Through the path of devotion, you will also get that same experience. That is the promise of Sri Ramakrishna, the words of Sri Ramakrishna. These are the two paths, jnana and bhakti. One may attain the knowledge of Brahman by either path. Some retain bhakti even after realizing Brahman, in order to teach humanity, as incarnation of God is one of them. After the realization of the Brahman, what happens? Oneness. But unless you come back to the path of devotion, there is no duality. And if you don't see the duality, me and these people, then naturally the question of teaching. From that point, when you see everything is one, is completely different. You won't feel anything for anything. So this is the way we have to understand, friends. It is almost time. So this is a very interesting discussion. Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna, he will be giving the answer to this question. So in our next discussion, next Wednesday, we will discuss about it. Now let us see if there is any question, and we will try to answer it.
The first question is from Devashish. He is asking how to cross-train our mind to see only positive attributes among others, even though the person does not do good for others. Devashish.
See, it is not that we have to see good in that way. No. Some people are truly bad, and we have to shun their company, of course. But at the same time, if you think that, well, he was also created by the God, and God has given him these devilish qualities, let God take care of him. I don't have anything to do with that, and try to avoid that as maximum possible. Even Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna, he is protecting his disciples from the company of this type of bad people. Not that I have to see positive and have to go and embrace, nothing like that. Don't take it in this way. Everything has been created by God. And see here, when you do the Durga Puja, as we are worshipping the goddess Durga, Saraswati, and others, the Lakshmi, Ganesha, Kartikeya, we worship Ashura also. We place the hand, then if you go and watch, now the Durga Puja again coming, and if you can go close to that, ask the Pujari also, do you offer food to the Ashura? And Asuras also. But are we worshipping Ashura? No. Do we want all those qualities of the Ashura? No. We want the qualities of the divine. So this is the way, not that I have to find always the good in the bad people and then go and develop the friendship with him. No. Rather, just leave him alone, try avoid the company, and say, the God, please help him. That will be sufficient. Thank you.
Devashish is asking the second question. How will we understand that we have reached a stage of Turiya in comparison with dreamless sleep?
Oh, that is the joy, Devashish. That when one reaches to the Turiya, that means all the ignorance, all the ajnana, that burns away. And then we know that it is nothing but all purity, all love. And that manifests in the life of great personalities. The embodiment of compassion, embodiment of love, embodiment of the sympathy. Then you will understand you have reached to that, and your mind will be always full of joy and tranquil.
Kamal Chaudhary is asking, how can we get rid of identification of Sthul, Suksham and
Karana.
Karana Sharir?
Identification, this is Kamal Babu, this is actually a practice in the path of knowledge. So when, as just we read, Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna, he is mentioning the sthula body, sthula sharira, we can understand. That's why we fast, we go to the pilgrimage, and we give the charity. By that way, the sthula sharira we try to overcome. Sukshma sharira also is the combination of 17 abhayava, 17 things. That is also the same, all this, but subtle. Then causal body, desire. So if we understand that and slowly remove the desire, free from desire, only one desire will remain in our mind, the God realization, then we are free. Remember the Ma Sharadamani Devi, she said that if you are free from all desires, immediately you are free from this circle of birth and death. Ekkuni hobe, in her Bengali she said, ekkuni hobe, the realization of God, immediately you can get if you are free from desire. That's the Karana Sharira. So this way, slowly we have to go. Thank you.
The next question is from Srima Vishwas. She is saying, tell something about Master Mahashaya, as yesterday was his birthday.
Yeah, the Master Mahashaya, the books are there, Shimaji. The books are there, you can read about his book. And there is a series of books are there, the volumes, I think 7 or 9 volumes, published from, I think, from Punjab, the one group of people. They are the devotee of the Master Mahashaya. So you can read that book. It's a wonderful life. But we can say the Master Mahashaya, he actually a part of Sri Ramakrishna. So as Swami Vivekananda, as Brahmananda, as Ma Sharada, they are all very close. And they come and act as they have been given that particular character. The Sri Ramakrishna saw him, oh, I saw you in the group of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Do you remember that? So naturally, he was already there with the Chaitanya, and Chaitanya was nothing but Sri Ramakrishna. Again with the Sri Ramakrishna. So like this it is going down, and otherwise it is impossible for ordinary people to remember those and write like this. So he is a blessed soul. But he was in the householder life. But even when he is in the householder's life, he was constantly remembering God. At the same time, he was maintaining and keeping all his duties properly, performing all his duties perfectly. So thank you for reminding that it is a birthday was there. And let us now chant this pranam mantra and conclude. Niranjanam nityam anantarupam bhaktanukampa dhrita vigraham vai Ishavataram parameshamidyam tam Ramakrishnam shirasa namamaha. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.